My name is Emily, and I swear my chest tightened the moment my mom said, "There isn't room for you on the flight." I stared at her, waiting for a laugh or some sign she was joking. Instead, she just scrolled her phone. I asked what she meant, and she said it again, slower, like I was a child who couldn't understand simple words. "You didn't confirm your spot," she said, still not looking at me. I told her nobody asked me to confirm anything. She shrugged like it wasn't her problem. When Dad walked in, I asked him if this was some mistake. He just sighed and said, "We thought you weren't interested." Hearing that made my stomach twist because I had talked about Grace's wedding for months without missing a single detail. "Why would you think that?" I asked, my voice cracking. Dad didn't answer. Mom muttered something about me being distracted lately, like having a full-time job made me disloyal. I kept saying I wanted to be there. I kept saying Grace was my sister. Mom finally snapped, "Then you should have handled your own ticket." That sentence hit me like a slap because they never told me I needed to buy one. I went to Grace's room, hoping she'd explain. She was filming a packing video, smiling into her camera. I said, "Did you know they didn't book my ticket?" She paused, chewed her gum, and said, "Emily, you always make things dramatic." I told her I wasn't making anything up. She rolled her eyes and said, "If you wanted to go so badly, you should have asked sooner." It felt rehearsed, like she'd practiced blaming me. I whispered, "I just wanted to feel included." Grace laughed like I said something pathetic. "Emily, not everything is about you." I felt heat rise in my face, and I asked, "So leaving me behind is nothing to you?" She shrugged and said, "The wedding will be fine either way." That sentence stabbed deeper than anything else. I left her room before she could see me cry. I went to my room and closed the door gently, trying not to shake. My phone buzzed. Grace had posted another video saying, "Family trip loading," without showing me once. I felt something break inside my chest. I sat on the edge of my bed, whispering, "Why am I never enough?" I wanted someone to answer, but the house felt silent, like everyone had already moved on without me. I heard Mom outside my door telling Dad, "She'll get over it." Dad said nothing. I opened the door and asked, "Why didn't anyone talk to me?" Mom frowned like I was annoying her. "Emily, we can't hold your hand forever." I told her I didn't need hand-holding, I needed honesty. Dad finally said, "It's done now." Those words felt final, like they had already decided my place in the family. I said softly, "So I don't matter?" Mom rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic." Dad walked away. I stood in the hallway feeling like the floor tilted under me. I wanted to scream. Instead, I said, "I'm still going." Mom stopped and turned. "How? You don't have a ticket." I said, "I'll book my own." She looked at me like I was stupid. "Do what you want," she said, and walked off. I went back inside my room and opened my laptop with trembling hands. I searched flights, my heart pounding every time the price refreshed. I whispered, "Please don't be too expensive." When I saw the total, I covered my mouth, but I still clicked purchase. It felt like the first decision I'd made for myself in years. I leaned back and whispered, "I'm going to Italy. Even if I go alone." The house felt colder afterward. Grace laughed downstairs with Mom like nothing happened. I stayed in my room, staring at my suitcase. I whispered, "I'm really doing this." My reflection looked scared but determined. Before bed, I heard Grace tell Mom, "She won't actually go." Mom laughed. Dad didn't answer. I turned off the lights and said to myself, "Watch me." For the first time all day, I felt a spark of hope. By the time my plane touched down in Italy, I felt a tiny spark in my chest. I whispered, "I actually made it," as I dragged my suitcase through the airport. When I stepped outside, the warm air hit my face, and for a second I felt proud, really proud. I called myself brave out loud. "See, Emily, you did this." But everything changed the moment I walked into the hotel lobby. Grace's voice sliced through the noise. "Emily." She said my name like I had crawled out of a hole. I tried to smile, but she didn't smile back. "What are you doing here?" she asked, like I'd ruined her day. "I'm here for your wedding," I said quietly. Mom appeared behind her and whispered sharply, "Why didn't you tell us you booked a flight?" I replied, Why didn't anyone tell me I wasn't included? Dad muttered, we talked about this, and I felt the same sting I'd felt at home. Grace nudged Ethan. Did you know she was coming? Ethan looked everywhere except at me. I wasn't sure, he said. I told you I wanted to be here. He nodded awkwardly, but his eyes never met mine. I went to the front desk and said, my family should have a reservation for me. The clerk checked the screen, frowned, and said, there's no Emily listed with your group. My stomach dropped. Can you check again? He checked again. Grace stepped up and said, maybe you forgot to tell us you needed a room. I stared at her. Grace. You know I didn't forget. Mom whispered, we can't fix this now. I said, you didn't even try. The clerk apologized and said the main hotel was full. I asked if there was anything nearby, and he handed me a map. I said, fine. I'll figure it out. Grace shrugged. Don't be dramatic. I walked out of the lobby before I broke down. I found a cheaper hotel down the street and dragged my suitcase through the uneven stone walkway. When I finally reached my tiny room, I dropped onto the bed and whispered, why do I still want them to love me? Later, I stepped onto the balcony because the air inside felt heavy. The stone railing was cold under my hands. I whispered to myself, maybe coming here was stupid. My voice cracked, and the tears came fast. My chest hurt as I cried, ugly and loud, into the quiet night. Emily, a soft voice said. I turned to see a woman standing on the balcony next to mine. She wore a headset and had a clipboard. She gave me a gentle smile. I'm Harper. I'm the wedding planner. I wiped my face. Sorry. I didn't know anyone was out here. It's okay, she said softly. You look like you could use someone to talk to. I laughed bitterly. My family would say I'm being dramatic. She leaned closer. Then talk to someone who won't. Something in her tone made me breathe easier. I said, they didn't book my ticket. Or my room. I spent everything I had just to be here, and they still look at me like I ruined something. Harper's eyes softened. That sounds incredibly painful. It is, I whispered. I don't know why they hate me so much. She shook her head. People like that don't hate you. They rely on you staying small. Her words hit something inside me. I asked, why does it hurt so much? Because you still hope they'll change, she said gently. I felt tears rise again. I came all this way for people who don't even want me. She said, maybe you came all this way for yourself. Before I could respond, I heard a familiar voice call from the street. Emily, is that you? I turned and saw Noah, my childhood friend, waving. My God, he said, jogging over, I can't believe you're here. Grace told everyone you weren't coming. My chest tightened. Of course she did. Noah frowned. I'm glad that wasn't true. I missed you. For the first time all day, I felt something warm in my chest. Harper smiled at me. See? Not everyone forgets you. And for the first time in years, I believed it. I woke up the next morning telling myself I'd stay quiet, keep my head down, and avoid getting hurt again. But that plan fell apart the moment I walked past the courtyard and heard my mom's voice drifting through the open window. She better not cause drama today, Mom said sharply. Aunt Claire replied, Grace wants the wedding perfect. Emily's energy ruins things. My stomach twisted. I whispered, wow, before I could stop myself. I stepped closer, and their words stung deeper with every breath. Mom said, I hope she stays out of the way. She should have just stayed home. I felt the air leave my body. I turned to walk off before they saw me, but my cousin Tyler caught my arm. Emily, wait, he said quietly. I wiped my eyes. Please don't tell me you agree with them. He shook his head. I don't. But you need to know something. My voice shook. What now? He looked around like someone might hear us. Grace told everyone you refused to come unless the family paid for your flight. I stared at him. She what? She said you made demands, he whispered. She said you didn't want to waste money on someone else's big moment. I felt heat rush to my face. That's a lie. I begged them to include me. He nodded. I figured. But that's why nobody asked questions when you weren't on the list. She lied about me, I breathed. Again. Tyler sighed. I'm sorry. I thought you should know. I thanked him, even though my hands were shaking. I need to talk to her. He whispered, Emily, she won't care. I still need to hear her say it, I said, and I meant it. I walked into the villa, past guests chatting cheerfully. My heart pounded as I spotted Grace in a hallway adjusting her bracelet. Grace, I said, my voice louder than I intended. She looked annoyed immediately. What now? We need to talk. She scoffed. About what? Your attitude? I took a breath. Why did you tell everyone I refused to come unless you paid for my ticket? Her expression didn't even flicker. Because you're always needy, Emily. It was easier than explaining your constant drama. Drama? I repeated, stunned. You're the one lying about me. She smirked. If people believed it so easily, maybe that says more about you than me. Something inside me cracked. I spent my savings to be here. I came alone. And you still look at me like I'm some kind of problem. She shrugged like it meant nothing. I didn't ask you to come. Because you didn't want me to, I whispered. You wanted everyone else, just not me. She crossed her arms. Don't guilt-trip me. You should be grateful I even let you attend. I felt my breath catch. Let me? Yes, Emily. Let you, she said slowly, smiling like she'd won something cruel. I whispered, you enjoy hurting me. I enjoy peace, she replied. Which you ruin every time you show up. I felt tears fill my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Why do you hate me? She leaned close and whispered, because you're weak. And weakness ruins everything. Her words hit me like a punch. I stepped back before I collapsed. I'm done, I said softly. She frowned. Done with what? Done chasing you. Done proving myself. Done being the scapegoat. She rolled her eyes. Good. One less issue for me. I laughed bitterly. One day you'll regret this. She smirked. I doubt it. I walked away before I broke in front of her. Outside, I finally let the tears fall. My chest shook, and I pressed a hand over my mouth to keep from sobbing too loudly. But somewhere under all that pain, something else formed, something sharp and steady. I whispered, I'm done begging for love from people who enjoy watching me hurt. And for the first time, I meant every word. The morning of the wedding felt strangely quiet inside my chest. I looked at myself in the mirror and whispered, you're done crying for them. I walked to the venue feeling steadier than I expected. When I arrived, Mom glanced at me briefly and said, just stay out of the way today. I replied, don't worry. I'm not here to ruin anything. She just pressed her lips together and walked off. Grace stood near the altar adjusting her dress. She looked at me like I was dirt under her shoe. You actually showed up, she said. I said I would, I answered calmly. Well, don't make a scene, she muttered. I smiled. I won't be the one making one. I found a seat in the back, away from everyone. Harper walked over with a clipboard and whispered, are you holding up? I nodded. More than I thought. She hesitated. I need to make an announcement. Please don't take this personally. I sighed. If it's about Grace, I'm already expecting the worst. She stepped to the front and spoke loudly. Just a quick note, the bridesmaid list was updated last minute. I felt my heart pause. She continued, some names were removed by the bride's request. People turned toward Grace. Someone whispered, wasn't Emily supposed to be one? Another said, that's harsh. I stayed still, breathing slowly. Grace shot me a glare like this was my fault. I didn't react. For the first time, her rage didn't control me. Mason, Ethan's best man, came over discreetly. Emily, he murmured, I need to tell you something. I asked, is it bad? He nodded. Ethan knew Grace lied about you. He knew the whole story. My stomach twisted. He knew she told people I refused to come. Yes, he whispered. He didn't tell anyone the truth. He said it was simpler. I pressed my hand to my chest. He watched everyone treat me like garbage because it was simple for him. Mason whispered, I'm sorry. You deserved better from all of them. Before I could respond, Grace stormed toward us. What are you two whispering about? I said calmly, nothing about you. She snapped, liar. You always want attention. I replied, I haven't said a word to anyone. She screamed, you ruined my wedding. Guests stared. Someone murmured, she's overreacting. Another said, why is she yelling like that? Grace kept going. You came here to sabotage me. Everyone was happier when you weren't here. I just looked at her and said softly, if you believe that, you can keep believing it. My calmness made her shake with anger. Stop acting innocent. I whispered, I don't need to act. Ethan rushed over. Grace, stop yelling, he said awkwardly. She pointed at me. She deserves it. I stepped back. I'm done with this. Grace shouted, don't you walk away from me. I said, I've been walking away from you in my heart for years. Everything froze. Guests stared at her, not me. Her meltdown wasn't mine to carry anymore. I walked out of the venue quietly. No one tried to stop me. No one chased me. The silence felt like freedom. Back at my room, I packed my bag fast. I whispered, this time, I choose me. The train ride out of the city felt unreal. I watched the countryside blur through the window like the world was washing itself clean. My chest loosened with every passing mile. For the first time in my life, I felt peaceful. I didn't need them anymore. I finally chose myself.